I I was a stay-at-home mom because I wanted to be. That's what I chose to do. And he had, that's what we wanted. And then things changed where we took different paths. By the way, let me say my main dream killer is my husband, and we'll be married 40 years in 3 days.
Wow.
So
40
we
years?
did
Wow.
40, yeah. So we did, we did work things out. But for a lot of years there, I had a lot of things I wanted to do, and but I somehow felt that if it was so fun for me, I love to write, and if it was something that was so fun for me, and it didn't have like immediate benefits for my kids or my husband, then I thought, well, it must not be. I'm just not supposed to do this, and so I kind of hid it, or I was a closet writer, and I did have a few magazine articles and short stories and stuff like that published over the years, but it wasn't until probably about 10, 15, 10, 12 years ago, maybe. Well, not even that long. Well, anyway, to actually become a unipreneur, where it was with a business, was actually only about 10 years ago. And I got involved with multi-level marketing that one of our daughters was in, and my husband just belly laughed. I mean, he laughed. It wasn't just, oh, it was like roll on the floor laugh. And, it hurt. It hurt me. And, but over the course of things, I realized that he didn't mean to be a dream killer. And I think a lot of times people don't realize that they are. Now, if you're in a situation where they're mean or abusive, get out. That's not what I'm saying. But if it's look and see what it is, the reason they're doing that. And a lot of times it's because they love you. They are afraid you'll fail. They don't want you to get hurt. They don't want, they don't want you to rock the boat, and that type of thing. Or sometimes it might be they're afraid you're going to leave them if you succeed. So they might be afraid of success. There's all kinds of different reasons that they can actually be dream killers that aren't, not because they're mean or because they want to squelch you, but because they want to protect you. And so that's what I came to realize. And so I want to read the disclaimer on the back of my book, if you don't mind. Okay, it says, this book is not. Oh, go ahead. What?
I was saying I had not gotten to share, so I wanted to just kind of, stop you for a second and share the title and, and just some of the things that you were saying. I was just kind of like yesing so much because I so often with my clients, and I have more women clients, not that I don't have male clients, but I definitely have more women clients. And there's this big negative feeling about taking care of ourselves. And I think you just said exactly all those things. It was like, well, you have to put your family first. You have to put your marriage first. You have to put everything else first. And you're not making it yourself a priority. And it's so important to be able to do that. So all these years that you weren't living the life that you wanted because you thought you needed to do all these things for other people. So, there you were not accomplishing your goals and your dreams and something that you were passionate about. You always loved to write. So you didn't get to do that. So, again, it's that good reminder, everyone out there, how important it is to really just follow what feels good for you and really take care of that self-care. And like you said, those dream killers. So I just wanted everyone to know, Laura Shortridge is the author of Unipreneur, How to Live Your Passion in a House Full of Dream Killers. So I wanted you to get the full title before we get into too much more depth into it. Because there's going to be a lot of really great information. And like I said, there's going to be some great tips, some great information that you can walk away with. And then, of course, if you have information, or I'm sorry, if you have any questions that she has some answers to, maybe about being an author and maybe what she's doing, because she's got some exciting stuff going on, there's some great opportunities to ask. So feel free to ask. I'll jump in and ask the questions for you to Laura. So don't hesitate. We love participation. So the more you interact, the better. So that was what I wanted to say. So Laura, you're going to read to us the disclaimer. So what does the back of your book say?
Well, yeah, you have to know the title. You're right. You have to know the title before you know that. So the title is, like you said, Unipreneur, How to Live Your Passion in a House Full of Dream Killers. And the back says, disclaimer, this book is not about how to leave your family or divorce your spouse in order to follow your dreams. It is about gaining courage and know-how to pursue your passion, while at the same time nurturing deep relationships with your dream killers. Yeah. the thing is, the book is actually, I'm glad you said, that most of your audience is women. Frankly, most of my readers are women. I do have quite a few men have reached out to and said that the book touched them. But it's mainly written for people like myself who were stuck or are stuck, that you have this dream, this passion, and you want to run with it, but you love your family. And so there's that struggle of which, but you can have both. And that's what this is all about. And I have actually action steps at the end of each chapter that part of them are for building your passion, working on your passion, but the other ones are different ways to build your relationship with your dream killer. And there's a very important, the middle section. The first section is, let me back up here. I compare it to dream seeds. In our hearts, we have these. I feel like everybody on the planet has God-given gifts to give the world, and they're unique. They're only you can give those. And if you don't, then the world is not quite as good as it would be if you would have. And yes, the world will keep going, but it will be much better and much sweeter if every person on here gives your gift. And so, like I said, I compare it to dream seeds, and I have it into three sections of 3 chapters, the intro and the conclusion added to that. But I compare it to a dream seed, and I'm just going to tell you if I can find the page here. I'm looking on the wrong thing. The table of contents. The first part is called inward germination. So it's taking care of yourself. Your vision. You have to have a clear vision. If it's fluffy, like myself, it was like, oh, I want to write. Well, that is so broad. When I actually would get a vision of something I wanted. Okay, I want this article. Oh, I want this short story. Oh, I want this novel. Then I would write it. But if it was, and so in whatever it is you want to do, you got to have some clarity to it. And and it doesn't matter. It can be small right now. It doesn't have to be huge and earth shattering. It can be small. Even for some people, it's just, okay, I'm going to get dressed today, not stay in my pajamas. One step at a time. You do one step at a time. And it gets bigger. And that's the wonderful thing I found about dreams, are as you work on it and you achieve some of it, it gets bigger. Your dream just expands. And it's like, now I have this book that my passion is actually fiction. But this book, Unipreneur, needed to come out because I know that there's people that need it. I wish I'd had this 20 years ago. That's why I'm doing it. I really wish I'd had this. And I want to say, as many people as I can, the struggles that I had. And so anyway, the first part is clarifying your vision, brightening your attitude, and tweaking your perspective. So that's all inward stuff. So inward germination. Then the second part is outward expression. And the first part of that is understanding your dream killer. That's huge. When I took, I talk about Robert Rome in here in the DISC, the DISC, personality. It's all in here. The personality where you understand why people do what they do. And it's amazing. I didn't realize how, my husband's brain is different than mine. We think differently. Our personalities are very different. And we make a good team, but we really weren't understanding each other. And the other part of that was love languages, knowing how you express your love. And just an example of that is my big one is service. I love to serve people. That's how I express, that's a big one of how I express my love. Well, for him, that's the least of the 5 language. His is quality time. I didn't know that before. So I realized, and this is actually in the book, but I realized that, when he wants to tag him along with me to the grocery store, it's not because he wants to go shopping. It's because he wants to be with me. So instead of looking at that as, he's coming with me, it was like, that's a compliment. He wants to be with me. Yeah. Doesn't have to be a huge, big thing. He just wants to be with me. So anyway, and then the next one, right in the middle of the book, is where you declare your passion with your dream killer. So you're preparing for it. You figure them out, and then you present it. And that is a turning point. You may have to go back and tell them, express it again. You don't know how that first initial thing, when you tell them your dream, him or her, your dream, however they react, you can move forward with this book. You can move forward regardless of how they react. And so the next steps are you evaluate that encounter. that you had with your dream killer, and it doesn't matter how it went, you're going to move forward with it. And that's the third part, is how you move forward with it, regardless of what your dream killer does. And so that part is building your network and building your character, and then advancing your journey. And so the whole thing, like I said, this is a labor of love for people to not have to go through what I did. And that's the main, my main audience are women like myself. But there are other people in other circumstances too. And I got to say, I've had some really good feedback. I thought there's two people that, or two types of people that could use that. People like me, people who know people like me, you know, because I know that there's somebody in your workplace or at your church, in your neighborhood, even in your family, where you see, oh, they have a dream, but they're being squelched. And so it can help them. But the interesting thing is I've gotten a lot of feedback from people who read the book and actually gave it to their in this case, it was their husbands, and said, would you read this? And they read it and they were like, oh my gosh, I'm a dream killer. And so the book's actually for dream killers too. I thought it was kind of cool. They said, you know, because when they read it, the chapters on dream killers, it was like, oh my gosh, I say those things, you know. And so all of us may actually be dream killers to some extent. I'm thinking of like myself. We have 6 kids. Our third son was in his junior year in college in computer science, and he was making a 3.7 something, doing very well. He came home and said, Mom, I don't like this. I don't want to be in computers. You know, I'm going to quit school. And, you know, inside I was going, no, get your degree and then go do what you want. But yeah. I knew enough to myself and all this that I said, that's fine. You know your heart, you follow your heart. Well, he ended up, his part-time job for years had been working in as a meat, not a butcher, but he worked at the meat department at a grocery store, packaging meat and cutting the meat cutter. Well, now he actually liked doing that. And now he's actually a butcher in a major grocery store down in Texas. And he's the meat manager, and he loves it. He loves it. He likes being cool in the cool place. And, you know, it doesn't bother him to cut the meat. He really loves what he's doing. Good for him. I don't want to do that. But the thing was, the first reaction was, oh, don't do that. You're gonna, you know, but I was being a dream killer. I recognize that. So the book can also help us not be dream killers. So I'm hogging the conversation here. I don't know if you had any questions.
I don't have any questions yet. You had a few people that came in and said how awesome you are. So I wanted to make sure you did that one. It says, all right, so Evelyn Dickinson said, not only to teach, but to teach as she is doing each time she speaks about her experience and her success. So it sounds like, you know, you sharing your story, even just without the book being there, but just sharing it is actually helping to inspire people as well. It says, you're an inspiring author. Laura's book is an amazing story of step-by-step advice to assist one to reach their goal, dream, or passion. And yes, Barbara said you're awesome, and Kelly said that you are awesome as well. I don't really have any questions, but you know, if anybody has any questions, feel free to jump in. I know for a little bit when Laura was talking, it was like kind of coming in and out a little bit. I don't know if it's you're having the internet maybe by you is having a little bit of issue, but just so you know, you're having a little bit of a lag, and I think it's the internet having an issue. But you know, that's the big things is I think that, you know, I know for myself, I am very lucky that I have a husband who's very supportive, you know, even for me coming and saying, I mean, I have a 2-year-old son, and he was still wide awake when I, you know, left to go and start getting ready for the interview. And he's like, okay, he's like, so you're going on at 8:30? Okay, well then I'm going to hang out. I'll put him to bed, you know, whatever. And I am so grateful for that. In previous relationships, that would not have been the case. And I was not able to achieve where I wanted to go because I was not having the right kind of support. And it wasn't the type of relationship where I could talk about it and let's figure it out. So, you know, in that sense, it was a little bit different. But with the correct healthy person, a correct healthy partner, a healthy relationship, you should be able to come and communicate with them and say to them, hey, this is what my hopes and dreams, because realistically, your job is not about creating somebody else. your job is about creating yourself and being supportive of the other person and what their dreams are as they create themselves. And I love what you said about really, so many people don't realize and don't remember that we all are so different. So we are showing our love language in such different ways. And that's so true. You know, being of service, spending time with each other, doing things for the other person, you know, whatever it is, it's very different for everybody. Just like even if you're arguing with someone, one person might need a little bit of a break while the other person wants it to be done right then and there. And that can cause more tension if you're not open and really communicating what's going on. And having 6 children, you said, is that what you said earlier? I mean, how do you have time to even talk to each other? I mean, that to me is amazing. You know, that's so great. And the fact that you've been together 40 years shows that, you know, you're definitely willing to work it through and be supportive of each other, even when things kind of start to, you know, are not always easy, because they're not, obviously. And especially with 6 children, there's all these different personalities that are going on there too.
Yes.
So, yeah, so that's awesome. So when did you decide, about how long ago did you decide, you know, hey, I have this dream of really, you know, writing this book, and, you know, I'm going to move forward with it. How long ago would you say that you started to do that?
Actually, I started, I went with, I actually got a coach, a writing coach, Carrie Oberbrunner with Author Academy Elite, and I joined up with him in October of 2017. And I really didn't start writing my book until January, and I finished it into June. And then, of course, going through the publishing process takes a while. So I actually had the proof copy in September, and then went to the Igniting Souls conference in Ohio and presented the book. I had the books in hand. That was the first speaking that I did, and that was a marvelous experience. So that's when I also realized, oh, I enjoy speaking. I mean, I always like to talk, but being on a stage is different. I really enjoyed it, and I love. I've had several speaking engagements since then. I love connecting with the people. I absolutely love it. And so that's actually, like I said, Your Dream Expands. That hadn't been on my list before, being a speaker. But now with this book, it's happening. And it's like, oh, I enjoy this because I think I can help more people, the one-on-one. And I would say one-on-one, but even in an audience, I'm speaking to every individual in there. You know, it's not just to a blanket group. I feel connected with them, and I absolutely love it, because I love when I make a difference in people's lives. I wanted to, if you don't mind, I wanted to go back to the experience with the book of, I mean, think of the title, and if you're my husband, and this book, you know, I'm writing a book, How to Live Your Passion, a House Full of Dream Killers. Well, I knew at some point I was going to need to tell my husband what the book was about. I told him I was writing a book, and he was like, oh, yeah, whatever. And, you know, sure you are. And because I had written a novel, and it's still sitting there. I haven't, you know, it's still sitting there. That'll be my next thing to get published probably. But I knew this one needed to come out first. And so I started writing it. I got the title down and all that, started writing it. And after I was in writing, you know, for a while, my husband came in, he said, so what's your book about? And I went, ugh. Well, you're going to hate it. And he says, okay. And he walked out. That was it. So it wasn't until months later when I was actually, you know, it was getting edited, or, you know, with an editor and all that. And it came up again. And he said, so what's your book about? And I said, well, let me tell you the title, and it'll probably tell you a lot. So I said carefully, Unipreneur, How to Live Your Passion or How to Live Your Passion in a House Full of Dream Killers. And then I okay. And there was this silence and this, you know, this really confused look on his face. And he said, and he sincerely said this. He said, well, I'm not a dream killer, am I? And I very gently said, well, yeah, you kind of are. And he goes, how? And I listed some of the things, and he was like, oh, wow. You know, I didn't mean to. And then he says, well, at least I'm a star in a book. So, and he he's been supportive since then. And the other thing is when the book came, oh, that was really interesting. The proof came, and I was expecting it on a Friday, and it came on a Wednesday before. And so my husband is always getting stuff from Amazon, so he picked it up and he thought it was for him, and he started ripping and he saw it was for me and he says, "Oh, it's for you." And I said, "Oh, I wasn't expecting anything." And I looked at it and I realized what it was. And so he goes, "What is it?" I said, "It's my book." And so I started ripping it open, and he just looked at it and he said, "You really wrote a book? You really wrote a book? I want a copy." I said, "You have to buy it." He said, "I want 2 copies." He wanted to give his friend a copy, and he said, "Well, I want a copy for Patrick too, and I want him signed." So I signed my husband's. I signed it to my favorite dream killer, smiley face. And he's good with it. He's good with it. He has. The other thing though, he hasn't read it. And I asked him, at one point, because I gave it to him, and after a while, I said, "So have you read the book?" And he says, "No." And I said, "How come?" He said, "Because I'm afraid to." So that said a lot, but he supports me in it. So, it's really awesome, anyway, so there.
That's great. And that's, again, it's that thing of really feeling your passion and standing true to yourself. I think that is such an important thing to be able to do, because too often we kind of declare what we want, but then we don't follow through with it. Or if someone says something, we kind of back off a little bit, but to really declare it and stand in it, I think is so important. Barbara said, how to communicate is so important. We must be solution oriented, because again, a relationship definitely is that back and forth. So being able to figure out the solution and figure out the best way, what works out for everybody. And realistically, again, once you stand firm in what your belief is and you stand firm in what that passion is, it's kind of hard for anyone to knock you down, because they know that you're being honest, you're being really truthful with them. And once they see that, they're like, she's not kidding on this one. So this is probably what I need to stand behind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So how are your kids feeling now that they have a famous author mom? Are they being supportive as well?
It's really interesting. Our oldest son, when I told him the title, he knew I was writing a book, and he's supportive of it. And but he didn't know the title. And when I did tell him, he said, "What's the title?" And I told him. And there was I told him on the phone, and there was this long pause, and he goes, "Am I in trouble?" I said, "No, you're not in trouble." I said, "Your dad may be, but you're not." And I've made it a policy. I don't tell anything about my kids. Some have been dream killers, and some have been very supportive. I mean, I have some, with 6 of them, there's bound to be a mix. But I think, they're proud of me actually for it, for doing it. And
I'm sure they are.
Yeah, and it's the hardest on our youngest, because it's funny because she's the one still living at home, and so I think she says, "Mom, it's really weird when we walk someplace and people know you." I mean, not that I'm famous, but some people do recognize me. I've done workshops and things and book signings in my my area and the surrounding towns and stuff, and it as she puts it freaks me out when people. When somebody says, "Aren't you?" So she'll just have to get used to it. That's okay. She's still supporting, she's happy about it, but it's weird for her, so. But yeah, at this point, they're supporters.
Yeah, and there's no reason to dull your shine. They'll get comfortable with it. They'll get used to it. I was thinking as you were saying, doing these presentations and everything else, do you think that everyone who is a writer needs to go and do speaking engagements, or do you think they could stick to just writing? Because I know some writers are a little bit more on the introverted side. Some can be like, I'm a bit more of an extrovert. But I know some people that's like a little bit uncomfortable for them to think about, like, oh my God, I'm going to go on a stage and like tell everybody about my book. Like that just sounds really scary for people. What do you think, or what have been some of your best strategies to get your book out there?
Well, if you're uncomfortable and don't do anything that you really don't want to do, I would encourage authors to stretch what they're comfortable with. Don't stay completely in your comfort zone. Stretch yourself, but that doesn't mean you have to go to big audiences. But I think if you can it really works better if you do have book signings where you can see the people and it spreads from there, you know. So even if it's just small, you know, I would suggest that they do that if they want, you know. The thing is, I know authors that have really good books out there that nothing happens with them. They've sold 5 copies,
Yeah.
you know, and that's to mom and you know, the kid down, or the man down the street, you know, something like that. And they're really good books. I've read. I have. Before I wrote books, I actually edited a few for different authors, and there's some you know, good books that just sit there. So yeah, you gotta, and even if you're with a traditional publisher, a lot of authors think, oh, they're going to do everything. They don't. They don't do everything. And so you really do need to have some kind of a physical presence, or online. Fine, online's fine too if you're not, you know, comfortable in person. But I like the in person. Is just, well, you know what? I like people, so I don't have a problem with speaking with anybody really, and personalities there. I can't completely identify with an introvert, so that I'm just telling you from my experience. You know, I can see how that would be hard. But if you want your book out there, you gotta promote it, you know, get it out there, get the word out.
And one of the things we talk about in coaching all the time is get out of your comfort zone. Comfort zone is not comfortable. As much as people are like, oh, it's so safe here. No, a lot of times that's not a safe place, because your comfort zone, you know, could have been staying, not writing your book because that was comfortable. That's what you were used to. Even though that was uncomfortable, that was something that you wanted to do. And I know for me as an author, and I think Laura froze. I don't know what happened for you for a second. But I know for me as an author, and same, sounds like the same kind of thing. When you have that calling, when it's almost like it's not even like you have a choice. The book is like, it's like, hey, you have to write me. You have no choice but to write me. And you're like, okay, fine. You know, I feel like that kind of helps, that push to get you and do things that are uncomfortable. Because, you know, speaking in front of large groups for a lot of people is like one of the scariest things around. But if you care so much about the topic and you want so badly for people to hear about it, you're willing to get out of your comfort zone because it's that important for people to get the information, that important to share it with other people. What was one of the things, you know, now that you are a published author and you're doing all these things, what do you think that was the hardest thing for you to actually just get started, or even just for the whole process? What to you was the hardest? Because I know there were a few people at RSVP that said they wanted to hear your process because they're starting the book writing process. What for you has been the most difficult so far on the journey?
Distractions. It's very easy to, I blocked off time, and I would go to the library to write, because when I'm at home, I would get distracted. And that was a dream killing thing, but they didn't realize it. I even put a sign on my door that said, do not disturb. And my husband walked in and I said, didn't you see the sign out there? And he says, oh, well, I didn't think that was for me. It's like, well, you're the only one home right now. But, you know, they don't think about it. They don't mean to, you know. And it's good that I'm needed, but I had to block off time and go somewhere else to do it. And because distractions are a big thing for me. When I'm home, it's not just the people, but there's phone calls. And so when I go write, I turn my phone off. I you know, zone out. I should say zone in, actually, zone into the writing, zone out of the outside. And so that's the big thing, is to block it in, commit to it, you know, block it in. And I got to say too, even if you don't have big blocks of time, you can write. I always kept a notebook with me, and I was always taking notes. And if I have, like, I'm stuck in a car and I can't put a podcast in or something, I have time, I would think, and take notes, little thoughts, and it all, you know. And I have actually a lot of material that didn't make it into the book that I felt wasn't needed in the book, but I have it for other things now. So just write. That's the hardest thing, really. Just write, you know, because it's easy to say, oh, I'm going to do this. Block off time and do it one line at a time, you know, if you have to, but just keep at it. Don't give up.
Yeah. Barbara said everybody is scared to push out of their comfort zone. And yeah, I totally agree with that. And Bethany Kamori says, hi, Laura. So you have a fan that's saying hi to you.
Hi. Yes, I know Bethany.
So, it's funny because I was thinking while you were saying this about how people think that, the time thing. And I think that that's common, whether you're writing, whether you're trying to work on your dream, whether you're working towards change of any kind. There's always this, and it's an excuse, I hate to say, but people say they don't have time. And a mom with 6 children, I run a business along with working another full-time job, and I'm also a mom, only one right now, but it's very time consuming. But I find that I have time for the things that I want to have time for, and it's really that way for everybody. If you say I don't have the time for that, you really have to say the words, that is not a priority to me. And when you start thinking about that, like, hey, wait a minute, my dream that I really want so badly is not a priority for me. That doesn't sound right. And then you kind of rethink it a little bit if you change the wording a little bit, because like you said, I mean, even something as simple like I meditate pretty much every day. People say they don't have time for it. Well, sometimes I meditate for 1 minute because that's what I have in between doing one thing to the other, and it helps me refocus. Or writing the book, and in the beginning of me writing, my son was much, much younger. So he would take a nap, and even now he takes a nap, and I run quickly and I answer emails, or I go online and I do some research or whatever it is. Those little 10-minute blocks, 5-minute blocks, you would be amazed what you can get through. So stop saying to yourself that you don't have the time. You do, if, like you said, and planning, that scheduling, hey, from here to here, I know that this is what I'm doing. From here to here, this is what I'm doing. I'm blocking off that 1 hour because it's a priority to me, and I'm going to get it done. And like you said, even if it's 10 minutes, 10 minutes after a week, that's 70 minutes. Well, what could you have done in that 7 minutes? You could have wasted time on Facebook. You could have watched television. You could have, sometimes people like, you're like, what did I even do for 10 minutes? I've been sitting here and 10 minutes have gone by and I don't even notice that it goes by. So that those little blocks of time can really add up quickly. While other people are wasting that 10 minutes, you can actually really take advantage and use that time wisely.
Exactly. And another thing is to simplify. You can there are certain things you can put on hold for a while. I know that house cleaning, I was not as thorough as it was, or it was delegated. Certain things that I used to do or were delegated, or paid somebody to do or whatever, because you can write a book, somebody else can wash dishes, or buy Chinese food for, if you're really into your book, keep writing your book and order Chinese, some things like that. Simplify. I tended to do everything myself that I could. I'm a doer. So I really had to step back and say, okay, is this helping me with my dream, or is it pulling me away? Is it important for my family, or is it really fluff? And so if you, like you said, prioritize, but also simplify. Some things you just don't need to do. And I loved your thing about 10 minutes here and 5 minutes there, and what it really does add up. It really does add up. One thing that helped me, it's actually helping me right now on this other side of writing the book, in the marketing of it. I'm like developing a press kit, and that's what I'm working on this week. Well, it takes a long time to do if you look at it as a big block. But I have a list. I made a list of things that I can do in 10 minutes. So if I find, okay, I have 10 minutes before I have to leave or whatever, I'll go look at that list. And it may be something to do with the media kit, that just a little thing, or it may be something around the house that needs to be done that I can do in 10 minutes. I can do switch a load of laundry or whatever. And so if I have that list there, it's like, oh, I can cross this off, and so that really helps for me. I need to be organized. Otherwise, my time just, where'd it go? So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's such an important thing. And then for some people, like, so I was talking before you came on just about having that team of people that are supportive of you while you're going through these changes and really following your passion. And that's one of the really big reasons, just throw in getting a coach, whether it's me, whether it's somebody else, having someone that you can hold yourself accountable. I mean, I have a business coach because my background is education. So, I know that I'm having this pull to this vision to do this coaching and to help other people live their best lives. But the business part, I have no idea. So I have someone who's a professional who does this for a living, and she tells me what to do. So every week I know exactly what to do. Just like if you're writing a book for the first time, having someone that you can talk to, whether it's, sometimes people have masterminds where there's a bunch of different authors that get together and they kind of chat with each other, like, well, where are you? Or where are you? Or some authors get coaches, which what you were saying, the different publishing. There's so many different things available out there. People don't even realize what there is, but having that group of people that are supporting you, because some people don't have that relationship at home that is going to be supportive. They do have those dream killers and they're going to do it anyway. They're going to follow exactly what you said, but they might not have it really at home. So finding that group that can and that will be supportive as you're going through it, because it is, sometimes there are lonely moments while you're on your journey, right? Where it's like, oh, it's that little moment where you're like, oh, I'm doing this and I don't really know anybody else is doing it, but I'm doing it anyway. It's kind of nice to just have that support team to kind of lift you up when you're feeling a little bit sluggish or like you don't really want to work on it as much that day.
Yes, I think having support somewhere is crucial. You really can't, I don't think anybody can successfully do it completely on their own. You've got to have other people in your lives. And if they're not at home, you got to find something. And actually, even though like it's not so much dream killing anymore, at least not as much as it used to be, I still always have a mentor, always. And I actually have two right now. I have one, a life coach, and I also still have I don't have the author coach anymore, but I've got a business coach to help me through the business end of getting with the book. And so I think three things are important in that. You have a mentor. You have somebody that has walked the path you want to walk. They've succeeded at what you want to succeed at. They can really help you speed up your journey. Really help. The other thing is I think it's important to have a support system or support group that are basically the same as you. I'm with a mastermind group. Actually, I see Barbara Bond on here. She's on my mastermind group. Yay, Barbara. You said Barbara. I thought maybe it was my sister. But anyway, I have a sister, Barbara. Anyway, but like Barbara Bond is in my mastermind group. They are dream builder coaches, which I am not, but they are going to be authors, which I am. So we all fit together, and I've been through the Dream Builder program, so we have. It's wonderful. But that mastermind group, that support of people who we're basically the same level, and we root for each other. We truly want to help build each other, and we're growing together. I love that. And the other thing is I think it's important to always help people who are not as far along as you. I have many people that have contacted me from the book. I have open access, anybody who wants to come to me and ask specific questions. I'm having this problem. And it's funny because I'm not a coach. I'm not a certified coach, but I'm finding that people are asking me questions, and I'm gladly given my experience, and here for what it's worth, here's what I did, that type of thing. And so I think it's important to always help other people who are struggling in areas that you've come through already, to help them through the fire, so they don't get burned. And so those three levels: above, right with you, and I don't mean below as in they're beneath you, but just they're behind the path. You can help them, pull them along.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
those
I totally, because that's what it is. Bring people up to where you are. That's definitely, because you want everyone, like we said in the beginning, is that really elevating everybody to their best actually helps everybody else. That's one of the things that, to me, it is so near and dear to me, because I know when I wasn't at my best, I wasn't giving the best either. So, when you are at your best, you're able to do your best and give your best. And yeah, and agree. And honestly too, because again, there's mostly women watching, I think a lot of the things that you're saying is really resonating with a lot of people. And I actually just finished a 6-week transformational coaching group. Today is Tuesday, so we finished it up on Sunday. And one of the things that some of the clients were saying is how just nice it was to have a group of women that they could feel really supported by. And it's kind of sad at times where we are such a culture where women are not being as supportive of each other. So to just be able to have that group of, other fellow women that are just being nice and supportive and want each other to succeed, because there's a lot of women that want that for each other, but they're not always showing it. So it's just really nice to be able to have that support by other women to help each other do their best. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Very important.
Yeah. Yeah. So is there anything else, anyone who's watching? Hi, Zach. Hello. If there's anyone who's watching who has any questions, we talked about the book. Again, the title of the book is Unipreneur, How to Live Your Passion in a House Full of Dream Killers. And we talked a lot about how, so many people are dream killers and don't even realize it. Some of those people that love us dearly and don't mean to be that way, they think they're doing it because they are trying to help us when actually they're actually hurting us, and how important it is to share your feelings and communicate with other people and to really follow your passion and not let anyone get in the way of that. But are there any questions that anyone's having for Laura while she's on, maybe again about being an author, being a speaker, her journey, writing a book, anything at all that you can think of, just type it in, let us know what it is. We will try to answer whatever questions that anybody has, because I know there's a lot of questions out there. I know there's a lot of people that are actually, this is really, really, resonating very strongly with. So please don't feel bad about asking any questions that you have. Again, there's about a 10-second lag between when I'm looking this way, I'm looking at my computer so I can see what people are writing. So it might take a second for us to actually see what you're writing, but please don't feel bad about reaching out, saying something that you'd like to share, maybe something you got out of watching this whole, interview that we did, which has been awesome to get so much great information. Is there anything that you can think of, Laura, that you'd like to share?
I would just like to encourage any of your viewers, whatever your dream is, truly, it is a gift. It is a gift. Those thoughts, those desires to expand yourself, those are wonderful gifts, and to squelch them it's going to come out somewhere. I don't know how to put this. If you stuff that desire in, it's going to come out somewhere. A health issue, something. I know when I was squelching my dreams, I had major health issues, and it wasn't until I realized, oh, stress is doing this, and so please take care of yourself, and part of that is discovering your gift, nurturing your gift, and giving your gift, because only you can give it. So
you're right. And it does, it really makes life a little bit easier, because if not, you're kind of forcing yourself all the time, like, no, don't follow your dreams, just hide that, squish that down, don't follow what you're passionate about, ignore that gut feeling. And it's just actually so much easier. And I found on my path that just following what feels good, following that passion, and I, staying away from what feels bad and following really what feels good, just really makes life easier all around. So,
all around.
Yeah, and there's a reason why you feel that way, is because you have an amazing gift, and that amazing gift is there to help the world. It's to help you, but it's to help the world. And some of those things that seemed like they were bad things at the time, no matter what has happened to you, you can really use that amazing gift to help other people if you're just willing to share it and really put yourself out there. So stop killing those dreams and start putting yourself out there and sharing with the world your gift, because they're looking for it. The world is looking for your gift.
Yes, and all of us do experience pain, and we have hard times, all of us. Otherwise, we would just be blobs on the couch and never be able, never have to do it. We learn and we grow from that. And so what I know, like with my writing, I turned my pain into purpose. And so a lot of times, the experiences you're going through that you think, oh, nobody else has experienced this. Nobody knows what I'm going through. People do. And that if you connect, if you share it and connect and find out how other people have gotten through it, it can really help. So I know a lot of other authors who have, I don't know how many authors are looking at watching this, but if you do have a book in you, as far as having experienced pain and how you came out of it on the other side, a bigger, better person, turn that pain into purpose, and amazing things can happen. You can help so many people.
Yeah. Totally, totally agree. Well, I'm not seeing any questions coming in, so that's a good sign, I guess. That means we've answered all the questions that anybody might have had. So where can people find you? I'm sure there's a lot of people that are watching this and they're kind of excited to actually buy your book. I know it's available now for sale, correct?
Yes. You can go to my
Okay.
book, my website, which is www.unipreneurbook.com. And you can go there and everything's there. You can also
Okay.
just go to Amazon.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, I know Amazon, you said it was available. I'll also put the links in, well, I'll change the title of the video and I'll put all the information in there as well. And if you want to get in contact with Laura, feel free to put any messages in the comments. You know, she can respond to anything. If you'd like to have a more private conversation, you two can figure that out.
Absolutely.
Is there any other way
You
that
can,
they should be reaching out?
I can give them my my email too. It's contact at laurashortridge.com, and that's my direct. You can contact me there too.
Okay, awesome. And definitely put that also in the comments on the video just to make sure if anybody missed it, they have that as well. So take the opportunity. I mean, here there's a a lot of really great information. Take the opportunity to reach out and ask questions. And of course, again, Laura and I are two peas in the same pod, realistically, because it's still we're coming at it from different angles, but it's still the same thing. So it's really just about supporting each other, helping other people to lift them up and bring them to their best life. And again, how that helps the world. So whatever we can do to help you out. Definitely feel free to let us know, reach out and get that team, get that group of people that is where you want to be, and get the support from them, because that's what's going to help you move forward. Again, those friends that might want the best for you, that are giving you terrible advice because they don't know any better. They're not doing it because they're being mean. They're doing it because they don't know. So, stop wasting your time with that. Have your friends and then all those connections, but really have those connections with people that are going to help to elevate you and to keep you moving on your journey and growing on your journey, because that's such an important part of it. So
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Laura, for being part of this today. I really got a lot out of it. I really appreciate it so much. And again, anyone who's watching, we will be having another Facebook Live next week. Normally it's on Wednesdays. Today we did it on Tuesday, but we will be having another one next week. So watch out for, keep an eye out for the new video that's going to be coming out. And we would love to have you. Feel free to like, comment, and share this video with anyone you think might benefit from it. And make sure to like Mind and Body Awakening so that you can give us some love on that as well. And of course, follow Laura and give her some love on her page so that she can get some good followers and get some good feedback. And definitely buy her book and then let her know what you think about it. I'm sure she would love to hear your opinions.
And I would appreciate when you do read the book, if you get a chance, and if it means something to you, I would love to do a review, have you do a review for me on Amazon. I would appreciate that too. That's another little kudo if you could appreciate that.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I will talk to you soon. And yeah, everyone, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Thank you.